A young policeman suddenly turned into a furious crocodile in front of his fiancée. She locked him in the pool and had a baby with him. A guy named Dayton arrives at the river. He unloads some barrels from the back of his truck and pours their contents into the river. For some reason, the liquid is colored bright blue.
Why always that good blue shine?
But that doesn't bother Dayton. He's used to pouring this filth into the water. There are fishermen in a boat sailing in the river. Suddenly one of them is attacked by something huge from the water.
That gumbo sure does sound good.
But Dayton doesn't notice it and goes home quietly. The guy has no idea yet how much misery the blue poison will cause in his little town. Meanwhile, a girl named Avery arrives in the same town where Dayton lives. Avery was born here herself, but then left to attend college. Now she is back with her family for the vacations. Her father, named Lucien Doucette, joyfully welcomes Avery. The girl is happy to see him, too.
I'm glad to see you home.
I miss you, Daddy.
The following day is the start of alligator hunting season in the village. All the locals are obsessed with the event. So today, Lucien Doucette, his daughter and a distant relative named Bud are out exploring along the river. That's when the family hears a gunshot. They accidentally stray into someone else's stretch of river. The area belongs to the Robishad family, who are not friendly to visitors. True, Dayton Robishad, who likes to pour blue moonshine into the river, is actually very happy to see Avery Doucette, and the remaining family members have long been hostile toward each other. To demonstrate this, the head of the family, Wade Robishad, shoots into the water. From there, a huge alligator emerges. Since the Doucettes are closer to it, they deal with the alligator and fish it out.
Here, get that duct tape for that mouth.
You don't need no duct tape, he already dead.
The alligator turns out to still be alive and bites Lucien slightly on the arm. The man finishes the animal off with a knife, and after that it goes silent for good. The Doucettes take the alligator back to their estate. It is huge. Avery treats his father's wound and asks him to go to the hospital, but he refuses. To him, it's a minor scratch. Avery anxiously says she has never seen such a large crocodile with a red head and spikes on its tail. But Lucien is pleased with his prey and doesn't delve into the unusual details. He has no idea yet how important listening to his daughter's concerns would have been. The family arrives at the local bar. Everyone is happy to see Avery after a long absence. Only her stepmother Candy is cold to the girl. Of all living creatures, Candy is only interested in her dog. Suddenly, a fisherman runs into the bar in shock and screams that a huge alligator ate his friend. The fisherman is taken away by ambulance, and Lucien convinces the police that there are no supernaturally large alligators. But one policewoman, Lucien's niece, does go to the river to look for alligators. In the meantime, Avery also goes to the river to swim. Dayton arrives after her. He asks the girl not to swim too far, for there may be alligators in the river. But Avery does not listen to him and drags him along. It turns out that the young people used to date and loved each other. Now their feelings have flared up with renewed vigor. The romantic moment is interrupted by a fisherman.
We're all gonna die!
The alligator attacks and quickly dispatches him. Avery and Dayton, frightened, immediately swim away. Meanwhile, the village is having a good time. The large Doucette family is eating alligator kebabs that Lucien caught and getting drunk. A shocked Avery runs in and tells them what she has seen. She asks her father to quickly eliminate all the mutant crocodiles that threaten people's lives. But Lucien, like the others, does not take her words seriously and asks the girl to calm down. Then she calls Dayton and asks him to get more weapons. The girl decides to exterminate the monsters herself, but she has no idea what this venture will lead to. In the meantime, Wade Robishad, Dayton's father, is in the barn, tasting the blue moonshine he makes himself. The liquor tastes disgusting because of the chemicals Wade puts in it. The batch has to be thrown away. Dayton comes to see his father. He doesn't like the idea of having to keep pouring moonshine into the river.
Can't be good for a Pop.
Dayton has no idea how right he is yet, but Wade stands his ground, for his ancestors did the same thing. The man hates the Doucettes for the same reason. He's just following his ancestors' example, even though none of the Doucettes have personally harmed him. He keeps telling his sons absurd horror stories about Doucette's treachery that he heard from his father. But Dayton has an opinion of his own. The lad doesn't mind kinship with Avery Doucette at all. A policewoman comes to inspect the river. There she meets an alligator hunter and calls on him to help. They lure a giant alligator out of the river, which quickly dispatches the hunter. The policewoman runs away in terror and locks herself in her car. 3 monsters crawl up to her. The policewoman, in a panic, contacts the sheriff by radio.
Oh my God, there's 3 of them and they're surrounding me. I need help.
The woman is so terrified that she runs out of the car for some reason. Immediately the alligator launches a spike from his tail at her. The unfortunate woman can no longer be saved. In the evening, the sheriff arrives on the scene and discovers his subordinate. He becomes dreadfully frightened, and leaves. In the morning, the sheriff is visited by the Doucets, relatives of the policewoman. The sheriff cannot explain what has happened to the woman yet, for she did not report the alligators over the radio. But the Doucets are sure, out of habit, that the Robishads did this. Lucien is especially angry and wants revenge. The sheriff asks him to come to his senses, but he only waves him off. The Doucets decide to deal with the Robicodes. Meanwhile, Avery and Dayton sail down the river in a motorboat. They have been looking for an alligator nest the whole evening, but so far, they have found nothing. The young couple plans to lead the hunting party to the nest. Dayton gets hot and takes off his shirt. Avery notices a tattoo of herself on his back. The guy explains that he got the tattoo when his sweetheart went away to college. The ambitious Avery explains that there is no way she could have stayed. Life in the countryside is not for her. Dayton is pained to hear this, but the search for the nest continues. Finally, the young couple hear alligators growling.
What's over there?
Little ponds. Perfect for nests.
The couple decides to immediately go back for their guns, but the motor on the boat won't start. Covering their retreat, Avery shoots an alligator. The wounded monster tries to ram the boat. Meanwhile, the Doucets come to the Robicodes, who are just pouring blue moonshine into the river. The enraged Doucets accuse their opponents of being responsible for the fate of the policewoman. A squabble begins between the families, which turns into a fight. But suddenly they hear Avery screaming from the boat. Seeing that their children are in danger, the family's fathers run to the river and try to divert the alligator away from the boat. The monster reacts to them and quickly swims to shore. Lucien can't get out of the river. The alligator is about to get to him. Then the Robicodes open fire and eliminate the monster. But there are alligators roaming the shore, too. Seeing them, everyone gathered on the shore swims to the motorboat, which miraculously started up. However, the alligators still manage to grab one man. When the danger is over, the survivors talk about their observations on the sheriff's boat.
I ain't never seen gators to like you that in all my natural-born days.
The men are set to eliminate the entire mutant tribe at this point. Avery suggests bringing alligator experts to the village because it's a new yet unexplored species. The Doucet family returns home. Lucien strictly forbids his daughter to see Dayton. Their family also tells tales of the mythical atrocities of the Robishads. Avery does not believe any of these ramblings and snaps back. In the evening, Lucien becomes restless. He examines the alligator bite wound. It is covered with a strange crocodile-like skin. The man is horrified but does not tell anyone about his problem. The next day, the sheriff brings a tough alligator expert named Tristan Sinclair to the village, who is filming his own TV show. Tristan has no intention of exterminating the animals. He wants to study them and relocate them. The man has no idea yet that his plans are not destined to come to fruition. In the meantime, all willing villagers gather to follow Sinclair to the alligator nest. It turns out that Dayton has recently become a policeman. He suggests that the feuding families unite for the common good.
Some things, it's more important than feuds.
Although Lucien has a different view, he goes with everyone else to search for the alligators, led by Sinclair. Soon the company finds the nest. There are baby gators floating in the water and eggs lying everywhere. Sinclair and the camera crew cautiously approach the egg and get a close-up. But Bud Doucet can't handle it and shoots the eggs. The others follow suit. The mother alligator immediately swims in on the noise. The hunters shoot back, but the monster still eats the camera crew. The alligator also plans to dine on Wade Robicode, but at the last minute Lucien saves his nemesis. The Doucets feel like they have won and gather the whole village at the bar for a celebration. And the evening becomes a momentous one.
Must be 100 years since the Robishads and Doucets partied together.
The sheriff calls the heads of families to the stage. He wants to give the men a cash prize for eradicating the alligators. Lucien takes the microphone and gives a solemn and contemptuous speech about the worthlessness of the Robicodes. Wade is infuriated and refuses the prize. The men begin to quarrel again. Avery asks his father to stop the feud. Dayton suddenly declares that Avery is his fiancée. This comes as a surprise to everyone, including the girl. She runs away from the bar. The fathers of the families are not happy either and start fighting. Lucien is even about to shoot Wade. He chases all the Robicodes away. Once left alone, Lucien becomes terribly unwell. Then he suddenly becomes covered in crocodile skin. His mouth grows crocodile teeth. Meanwhile, Dayton runs after the angry Avery through the woods. He apologizes for not proposing to her in a more private setting. Avery forgives the guy, for she also loves him, but she insists that they need to go to the city if they want to be together. Dayton agrees to that as well. The romantic moment is interrupted by a noise in the bushes. There, Bud Doucet beats up Dale Robishad's brother. The guy ends up passing away. Dayton can't do anything to help, and as a parting act, Bud also bites him. In the morning, Sinclair sets out alone to explore the devastated alligator nests. Since all the monsters have been exterminated after last night's massacre, the man has nothing to fear, but suddenly he is attacked by an alligator. Avery and Dayton wake up in the same bed. They are happy and don't want to go back to reality. Suddenly, Avery discovers a strange scar on her lover's side. It is a mark from Bud's teeth. The wound does not look good, and the girl asks Dayton to see a doctor. She senses that something terrible might happen, but the guy doesn't listen to her, goes to work. The sheriff arrives at Lucien's house. He wants to talk about the new alligator attack, but the house is empty. The sheriff is about to leave, but suddenly a monster pounces on him from under the bed. The man manages to escape. Fortunately, the alligator did not bite him, but only tore his pant leg. Meanwhile, Dayton and Avery visit Wade Robishad. He is grieving after the loss of his son. However, the man is kind to Avery and does not consider her his enemy. The sheriff also arrives at the Robishad's house and reports that all the Doucets have disappeared, but there are more alligators. The people don't understand what's going on yet but are ready to fight to the end.
We need more firepower.
Wade, Dayton, and Avery go to the river to lure the monsters. One alligator swallows the bait and capsizes the boat. The men end up in the water. The alligator is about to attack them. Avery has to aim her gun at the monster, and suddenly she has a strange feeling. She recognizes the alligator as her stepmother Candy. In the end, Avery takes out the mutant, but it leaves an unpleasant feeling. Afterwards, she tries to call her father, but in vain. In the meantime, Dayton and Wade continue to scatter alligator bait. They have a frank conversation. It turns out that the father is okay with the loving couple's relationship.
Mighty proud. Mighty proud.
And Avery can't take it anymore and goes looking for her father herself. Staring at her phone, the girl stumbles, falls into a swamp, and begins to drown. There is no help in sight. She is sucked in up to her waist. Suddenly, a huge alligator appears nearby. Avery screams in terror. A second alligator runs up to the first alligator and engages it in a fight. The first one is defeated, and the second approaches Avery steadily. It sticks its jaws up to the girl and growls but does not attack. Suddenly, Avery has a strange feeling and notices a golden tooth in the mutant's mouth. It's the same as her father's.
Daddy.
It really does seem to be Lucien. He turns his tail on his daughter. She grabs on and climbs out of the swamp. The mutant immediately leaves, and Avery goes to find Dayton. The girl then convinces Wade and Dayton that her father is a friendly alligator. The men do not believe her. During the story, Avery mentions that the mutant had a blue tongue. Wade immediately becomes uncomfortable. He confesses that he has been pouring botched batches of blue moonshine into the river for the past 6 months. It was these chemicals that caused the alligators to mutate.
The moonshine mutated them in the swamp.
And then all the Doucets ate their meat. That probably caused them to turn into alligators. Now Avery is opposed to destroying the monsters because they are her own kind. She wants to reason with her father. Dayton begs her not to go to the monster's lair, for it is too dangerous. But the girl is adamant. She asks Dayton to show her the place where Bud bit him. A crocodile skin has begun to form there. It looks like the guy is turning into an alligator, too. True, Dayton himself does not really think so. The couple quarrels, and Avery leaves for the alligator's home. On her way, she nearly runs over a strange woman in the middle of the road. She, too, has been bitten by alligators. Avery follows the woman and finds another mutant victim. From behind the house, several alligators come out. After seeing their atrocities, Avery no longer has any kindred feelings for them and does not want to socialize. After waiting for the monsters to reach the gas tank, the girl shoots at it. Meanwhile, Dayton and his father decide to get rid of the leftover moonshine. Suddenly the guy starts squirming and his skin turns green. Avery pulls up to the house. She saves Wade from another alligator and runs to Dayton. His mutation is already in full swing and soon the guy turns into an alligator in front of his father and his sweetheart. Avery touches him frightened. Then another alligator appears and engages Dayton in a fight. Neither manages to survive. Avery starts crying and Wade at first blames the girl for everything that has happened, but then he hugs her and admits his own guilt. They drift the alligator Dayton down the river and mourn him. Avery hopes that now the feud between the families will stop. Wade even knows how to accomplish this in a very peculiar way.
It ends because I'm going to kill every last one of those damn Doucets.
When everyone leaves, the alligator Dayton in the water wakes up and swims away. Wade and Avery go to the sheriff and tell him all about the recent events. He does believe that the Doucets have turned into alligators. The three of them decide that the monsters must be exterminated, since they have already committed crimes. Avery speculates that all the Doucets could only have gone to one place, the bar. Wade rounds up all the Robishads. The plan is to lure the alligators into the bar, plant explosives and blow up the building. Avery asks only for a quick humane execution of the alligators. She requests that the mutant with the gold tooth not be touched, but Wade has his sights set on Lucien the alligator. He wants to take care of his nemesis personally. Avery hopes to stop him. The Robishads pull up to the bar. They purposely make some noise to attract the mutants. They roar out from around corners and shoot spikes at their opponents. Avery notices his father and runs after him. The others, meanwhile, roll barrels of moonshine into the bar, set explosives on them, and pour gasoline over everything. When everything is ready, the Robishads run into the bar.
Come and get us! You filthy bag of conduces!
The alligators follow them. The men run out the back door and block the door. All the alligators remain in the bar, except Lucien. He crawls beside the crying Avery in the meantime. She asks Lucien to go with her and promises to hide him. Their communication is interrupted by Wade. He doesn't like the idea of hiding the monster. The man longs for retribution, but even he feels sorry for Lucien. Wade is sure that if Lucien were not his worst enemy, he would be his best friend. The man growls back. Wade shoots at Lucien, and the latter releases a spike from his tail at him. Both immediately freeze forever. Avery rushes to mourn her father, but suddenly the girl hears a scream. It is one of the alligators that grabbed the sheriff, and he did not have time to throw a grenade into the bar. The grenade explodes inside the monster. Avery quickly closes the second door to the bar and makes a Molotov cocktail. Suddenly the girl is hit by childhood memories of her father singing her a song and hugging her. Still, Avery is ready to end her family. She throws the Molotov cocktail through the window of the bar. There is a terrible explosion. Avery falls and passes out. The last alligator crawls up to her and takes her somewhere. A year passes. Avery remains in the village and opens an alligator farm. A buyer comes to collect hides. He would like the hide of a live alligator that swims near the river, but Avery doesn't offer it for sale. Nearby, the girl's baby is whimpering in the crib. The buyer leaves, and Avery takes the baby in her arms. An alligator comes out of the river to them. Avery strokes the animal. It is Dayton, the father of Avery's baby. The family is happy in their own way. What would you do if your family turned into ruthless alligators? Write about it in the comments and subscribe to our channel.